What's up, everybody? It's the Digital World Podcast. And I got two articles that are going to blow your socks off. Because one's relating to what's happening here in the States and one is to Australia. So stay tuned because I'm going to show you that what's happening here in the States is, or in Australia, is eventually going to come here to the States. Because you haven't seen anyone come up and speak out against measures, these draconian measures in Canada or Australia. As a matter of fact, I don't even think it's been alluded to, not even in the slightest bit. Now, what does that tell you? What that tells me is that it's probably coming to a state near you. And I do believe that it'll start in these, either California or New York, one of those type of states, because they were the first to come with these passes, medicine passes. So those states might lead out in what might be the next step in the agenda, which may come in the same form but slightly twisted different way as Australia. Now here we see that there's been a meltdown, right? 26 New York City fire stations have been shuttered. LA sheriff warns of mass exodus. Texan Water District faces staff shortage. If you don't already see what's happening, I don't know how else you'll be able to see it, because I do believe that by the time you see it, it's going to be too late. But what's happening is this is a crisis that's been caused by the leaders up on high. And if you see what's happening, it's all facets of society that are crucial. I've talked about the energy sector, right? How that's going bad. Especially in Europe, you see what's happening, and eventually it's going to make its way down to us in the United States. And we're seeing the supply chain breakdown, right? I'm almost, sure that whatever's in those containers is trashed, even if it's not food. Because whatever you have in there, right? If you have, let's say, the silica gel packs or whatever that absorbs the moisture in the air, if you have it there for long enough, those, moisture absorbers can only absorb so much. Therefore, it can ruin the product after an extended period of waiting in containers by the ocean, where moisture is pretty high. And as you see that, now you see people who are losing jobs left and right. And the small portion of people left to do the job just can't handle the big workload. And when it comes down to our fire departments, our police departments, our military, etc., this is the very same infrastructure that protects society, that gives society security. Who do you call when you need help? Right? It says the vast majority of employees across most industries and sectors have acquiesced to mandatory medicines. Enough Americans are refusing the medicine that states and municipalities are losing a dangerous game of chicken with employees who refuse. It says 26 New York fire companies have been shuttered citywide due to staff shortages caused by the medicine. 26. An unconscionable move some fear could have catastrophic consequences, elected officials said. The stunning lockdown came amid a pitched battle between City Hall, which will start enforcing a mandate Monday, and that the firefighters who are refusing, many reportedly say they are already sick with the, cerveza sickness and have natural immunity. But what you see, and this is something I've been talking about, that once these labor unions get involved, it's going to get very, very serious. Think about it this way. If you watch sports, there's the NFL Players Association, and in the NBA, they also have their own Players Association. And when there's a gridlock between, the NBA and the Players Union, players go on strike, right, to try to meet the whatever contract terms that these players want for their safety. And if there's a gridlock and there's a strike, there's no games. If there's no games, there's no entertainment. If there's no entertainment, there's no money. If there's no money, there's no business. And I do believe that as these unions get involved and people aren't working, it's not only going to affect, I understand they're in between a rock and a hard place, but think about what happens to society as a whole. It breaks down. So, as we're looking at this, there is no, like I said, people are stuck between a rock and a hard place. And you got to wonder, is this by design to try to bring down the infrastructure and collapse society and introduce the Great Reset? As Klaus Schwab has said, that it's a small, narrow window of opportunity, he says. Because, I mean, goodness gracious, anything forbid where we're, under duress in many facets of society and we're breaking down, then the next thing that happens is a cyber attack, which would utterly destroy and annihilate any remnants of a good working structure that, is left of what we used to know. And it concerns me. It really does. Because if something like that were to happen and we go further down this road of, how should I say it, servitude or serfdom, it can lead to a dangerous place. And let's look at what's happening in Australia. They're confiscating bank accounts, property, licenses, and businesses for non-compliance with the cerveza sickness fines. You see what's happening. I'm sure a lot of you have seen videos on what's taking place, and it's utterly unbelievable. Okay, during the lockdown, most workers were not permitted to work or earn a living. Okay, so several states provided wages to subsidize that. But if you're in violation of any of the rules, you were subject to citation, right? If you got caught too far from home or outside your permitted bubble, you got a ticket. If you got caught speeding for more than got caught spending more than the permitted 1 hour outside, which is crazy. They told you can't be outside for more than an hour. And if you did so, you got a ticket. If you didn't have your mask, you got a ticket. If you're by yourself, that didn't matter. You still have to wear it or else you'd get a ticket. If you entered a closed quarantine zone, such as a park or venue, you got a ticket. Being handed out randomly to everyone. And the cost for, people returning to Queensland were put into a system of involuntary quarantine. Wow. I don't care how nice it is. If it's involuntary, folks, ask yourselves, do I really want that? Okay. I did a video of this. Citizens were required to have their physical location scanned via QR code on their phone. And you had to send a picture of it within, I believe it was 5 to 15 minutes of you receiving the call. If you didn't, the police would come right to your house. Unbelievable. That says now the state is requiring all of the civil citations to get paid, or else And the enforcement actions to collect these fines from the state penalty and enforcement register are quite extreme. Citizens who have outstanding tickets are finding their driver's licenses suspended, so you can't even drive. Their bank accounts are being frozen and seized. Homes and property are being confiscated, as well as business licenses suspended for outstanding citations. Unbelievable. It says those who receive fines for breaking the protocols have their homes seized and bank accounts frozen in a government crackdown to collect $5.2 million in repayments. Folks, this is out of, 1984, the book. And some of you think, oh, it's happening over there. It's never going to come here. And you're acting all relaxed. This is not a time to relax. This is a time to put your thinking caps on and start making a plan like I've been telling you guys. A plan that helps you have food, water, and shelter. And the shelter can be debatable on what that is. But what's coming is utterly unbelievable. And you look at these things and you ask yourself, how come we're not talking about or standing up against what's happening in these other countries? Why haven't the leaders spoken about it? Because it's going to come to a state near you. And I'm putting out this information because we need to reach as many people as possible, to wake them up, to let them know about this, because it's getting pretty serious. I hope this episode has brought you some value. Like and subscribe. Comment below. Let me know your thoughts. As always, I like hearing from you guys. This is the Digital World Podcast, and I'll see you in the next episode.